What if the Great Pyramid was built without wheels, cranes, or modern engines? Imagine moving millions of stone blocks using ropes, sledges, boats, and stubborn teamwork. Now imagine doing that beneath Egypt's sun, while your supervisor counts every basket. The Great Pyramid still stands because ancient builders solved problems with astonishing organization. They did not possess secret lasers, anti-gravity machines, or helpful construction robots. They had skilled workers, careful measurements, strong administration, and enormous quantities of bread. Yes, bread mattered almost as much as limestone on this gigantic royal project. But who actually built the pyramid, and how did they lift those stones? Were they slaves, whipped by cruel guards, as movies often suggest, or were they trained laborers working inside a highly organized national system? The real answer is more interesting, more human, and occasionally much funnier. It includes flooded fields, noisy quarries, crowded bakeries, broken tools, and official paperwork. It also includes one ancient diary that survived over 4,000 years. That diary reveals something remarkable about the pyramid's hidden transportation network, so grab an imaginary rope, because your first shift begins before sunrise. Our story takes place around 2600 BCE during Egypt's powerful Old Kingdom. King Khufu ordered the largest pyramid at Giza as his royal tomb. Egyptians called the monument Akhet Khufu, meaning Khufu's horizon. The finished pyramid originally rose about 146 meters above the plateau. Its square base covered more ground than several modern football fields. Building it required stone, food, timber, rope, copper, boats, and precise records. It also required thousands of people performing very different specialized jobs. Meet Hemi, a fictional laborer representing many ordinary pyramid workers. Hemi is not chained, starving, or dragged from a dungeon. He belongs to a rotating crew supporting experienced permanent builders. Some workers quarried stone, while others transported, shaped, measured, cooked, or recorded supplies. Farmers may have joined state projects when agricultural work became temporarily limited. However, construction also depended on specialists who worked throughout the year. Near Giza, archaeologists found settlements connected with the pyramid workforce. These areas included sleeping spaces, bakeries, storage buildings, workshops, and administrative rooms. Workers received food rations, including bread, beer, fish, and meat. Ancient Egyptian beer was nutritious, thick, and central to daily rations. Hemi probably considered beer a workplace benefit, not an archaeological clue. Animal bones suggest workers sometimes ate valuable cattle, sheep, and goats. That diet hardly resembles the cheapest possible food for disposable slaves. Human remains also show healed injuries and evidence of medical treatment. This does not mean the work was comfortable, gentle, or completely voluntary. The state could demand labor as taxation or public service, yet the evidence supports organized laborers, not Hollywood's endless chain gangs. Crews were divided into teams, smaller groups, and named work units. Some graffiti inside the pyramid records proud gang names connected with Khufu. One group called itself something like the Friends of Khufu. Apparently, even pyramid crews understood branding before matching uniforms existed. Above them stood foremen, scribes, architects, priests, and royal officials. Scribes tracked rations, attendance, deliveries, tools, and completed assignments. A missing bread shipment could delay work faster than an angry pharaoh. The entire project displayed Khufu's power, wealth, and relationship with the gods. Pyramids were not isolated triangles dropped randomly into the desert. They belonged to complexes containing temples, causeways, smaller pyramids, and burial structures. The eastern side connected royal rituals with the rising sun. The western desert was associated with death, burial, and the setting sun. Giza also stood near waterways connected to the Nile system. That location made transporting heavy materials far easier than crossing open desert. Recent geological research supports the existence of ancient river branches near pyramid fields. The landscape looked wetter and busier than today's dry photographs suggest. Before placing stones, surveyors first selected and prepared the construction site. The builders cut away high areas and filled lower sections carefully. Exactly how they leveled everything remains debated among modern researchers. Whatever the method, the final base was extraordinarily level and square. Surveyors also aligned the pyramid closely with the four cardinal directions. They probably observed stars, sunlight, or both during repeated checks. No surviving manual explains their exact alignment procedure step by step. Ancient builders inconveniently forgot to leave us a complete tutorial video. Next, quarry workers attacked the local limestone surrounding the pyramid site. Most core blocks came from quarries directly on the Giza plateau. Workers marked sections, cut channels, and separated blocks from the bedrock. Copper chisels helped shape softer limestone, although copper edges wore down quickly. Stone pounders made from hard dolerite handled heavier smashing and rough shaping. Wooden levers, wedges, hammers, and abrasive sand completed the tool collection. A broken chisel was ordinary. Losing every chisel was a managerial disaster. Local limestone formed the pyramid's massive stepped core. Fine white casing limestone came from quarries across the Nile at Tura. Granite for chambers and structural elements traveled from Aswan in southern Egypt. Transporting stone by water was easier than dragging everything over land. Boats carried blocks through river channels, harbors, and artificial basins near Giza. An ancient papyrus records deliveries during Khufu's reign under Inspector Mera. Mera supervised crews transporting fine limestone from Tura toward the pyramid complex. His diary describes travel, loading, unloading, and administrative stops. It does not explain every building mystery, but confirms a sophisticated supply chain. Imagine Hemi waiting beside a harbor while officials inspect another stone shipment. Someone checks the cargo, someone checks the workers, and someone checks the checker. Once unloaded, blocks were placed on wooden sledges for land transport. Teams pulled the sledges using thick ropes made from plant fibers. Egyptian artwork shows workers pouring water ahead of a heavy sledge. Experiments suggest damp sand can reduce resistance beneath a moving sledge. Too little water leaves loose sand, while too much creates muddy trouble. So one worker may have held history's most important watering job. Hauling teams moved stones from quarries and docks toward prepared ramps. They synchronized their pulling, perhaps using shouted rhythms or overseer signals. Coordination mattered because one confused puller could disrupt the entire team. At the base, masons trimmed blocks for their intended positions. Builders used mortar to fill gaps and help stones settle securely. The mortar was not modern cement holding everything together like glue. Gravity, careful placement, and the structure's enormous mass provided stability. Each course rose slightly smaller, creating the familiar pyramid shape. The central mystery is how workers raised blocks as construction climbed. Most researchers agree ramps played an important role during construction. However, no single complete ramp design has won universal acceptance. A huge straight ramp could work low down, but require enormous material. Spiral ramps could wrap around the pyramid, but obscure accurate corner measurements. Builders may have changed methods as the pyramid grew taller. Straight ramps, side ramps, levers, and temporary platforms could work together. Ancient engineering rarely required one magical solution for every single block. Lower courses contained most of the pyramid's total stone volume. Multiple hauling teams could work simultaneously on different sides and levels. The project functioned more like a crowded industrial landscape than a single parade. Dust covered workers, hammers echoed, cattle arrived, and scribes complained. Meanwhile, specialists prepared the pyramid's internal chambers and passages. The Great Pyramid contains descending passages, ascending passages, galleries, and chambers. Some passages were built within the rising structure using carefully placed blocks. The king's chamber used granite brought from distant Aswan. Heavy granite beams formed its ceiling and surrounding stress-relieving spaces. Some of these stones weighed dozens of tons each. Moving them upward required extraordinary planning and many coordinated workers. Builders also needed to prevent chambers from collapsing beneath the pyramid. They used massive beams, corbelled spaces, and carefully arranged masonry. The Grand Gallery rises dramatically inside the structure with a corbelled design. Workers also created shafts extending from chambers through the pyramid. Their purpose may involve ventilation, ritual symbolism, or multiple functions. Nobody should call them simple air vents without acknowledging uncertainty. Outside, casing crews installed smooth white limestone blocks with tight joints. These casing stones transformed the stepped core into shining flat faces. Sunlight would have made the completed pyramid visible from great distances. Most casing stones disappeared through later quarrying, earthquakes, and reuse. Back during construction, masons adjusted surfaces after blocks reached position. Workers used measuring cords, plumb bobs, squares, and leveling instruments. Small errors had to be corrected before becoming enormous errors higher up. Supervisors constantly compared lines, slopes, corners, and course heights. Supplies arrived daily from farms, workshops, fisheries, and royal estates. Bakers produced mountains of bread for hungry labor crews, brewers prepared beer, while cooks processed fish, vegetables, and meat. Rope makers twisted fibers into cables strong enough for hauling. Carpenters repaired sledges, boats, levers, ramps, and wooden supports. Doctors treated cuts, fractures, infections, exhaustion, and other workplace injuries. Priests performed rituals linking construction with royal rebirth and cosmic order. This was a building project, religious mission, and national political statement. Such coordination strengthened central authority while placing heavy demands on communities. Villages supplied labor, food, materials, and transportation according to official obligations. For ordinary families, pyramid building could bring rations, status, obligations, or hardship. After years of labor, the pyramid approached its final narrow courses. Smaller working areas made movement harder, even as blocks became generally smaller. Levers may have helped raise stones short distances between stepped levels. Temporary ramps and platforms could be dismantled as sections were completed. Workers gradually removed construction debris from the monument's sides. Quarried material may have filled abandoned ramps and nearby low areas. Finally, masons probably completed the upper casing and placed the pyramidion. The pyramidion was the capstone crowning the monument's summit. Its exact appearance and covering remain unknown for Khufu's pyramid. Perhaps it gleamed brightly, although golden capstone stories remain unproven. Then workers dismantled ramps, cleared causeways, and finished surrounding temples. Royal funerary ceremonies would connect the dead king with divine eternity. The completed complex required ongoing priests, offerings, administrators, and maintenance workers. Even after construction ended, the pyramid continued creating jobs. Hemi's descendants might serve the complex long after his hauling days ended, and nobody handed him a tiny pyramid saying, "Excellent teamwork today." Here is the first surprise. The Great Pyramid was not built by aliens. No alien tools, bodies, instructions, or lunch containers have been discovered. The second surprise is that slaves were not the only possible workforce. Evidence points toward organized crews containing skilled specialists and rotating laborers. Another surprise hides inside red-painted marks left by construction teams. These marks include work gang names and references connected with Khufu. They support the monument's Old Kingdom date and royal ownership. The Great Pyramid also was not completely solid from bottom to top. It contains chambers, passages, relieving spaces, and an unfinished underground chamber. Another misconception claims Egyptians lacked mathematics needed for pyramid construction. Their surviving records show practical geometry, accounting, surveying, and standardized measurements. They did not need modern formulas written with modern mathematical symbols. They needed reliable methods, producing repeatable results across thousands of tasks. Not every block was carved with perfectly identical dimensions. Builders adjusted stones according to location, purpose, and available quarry layers. The visible precision belongs especially to casing, corners, passages, and important chambers. Some rougher core areas were hidden behind smoother exterior masonry. Another strange fact concerns the workers' cemetery near the pyramid complex. Burials there suggest some builders received respected treatment after death. That evidence challenges the image of anonymous prisoners discarded without ceremony. However, respected burial does not prove every worker enjoyed equal status. Egyptian society remained hierarchical and controlled by royal authority. We also still lack certainty about the complete ramp system. Anyone claiming the entire mystery is solved should carry evidence, not confidence. The greatest achievement may be organization, rather than one spectacular mechanical invention. The pyramid rose because many ordinary people performed thousands of connected jobs. Quarrymen cut stone, boat crews transported it, and haulers dragged it. Masons shaped blocks, surveyors checked lines, and scribes counted everything. Bakers fed workers, rope makers supported transport, and doctors repaired human damage. No single hero lifted the Great Pyramid into existence. It emerged from planning, labor, knowledge, belief, and powerful government. That combination produced one of history's largest construction projects. It also reminds us that ancient people were not intellectually primitive. They faced different limits, then created solutions using available materials. Some solutions are clear because archaeology preserves tools, settlements, and documents. Other solutions remain uncertain because temporary ramps vanished after construction. Honest history separates strong evidence from attractive speculation. The Egyptians built without modern engines, but they did not build without science. Their science was practical, tested, measured, recorded, and improved through experience. For Hemi, the pyramid was probably less mysterious than exhausting. He saw ropes, rations, supervisors, injuries, jokes, and endless limestone dust. We see an impossible monument, while he saw another demanding workday. Perhaps that difference is the most human secret behind the pyramid. So which ancient mega-project should we investigate after leaving Giza? And what lost building method might still be waiting beneath the sand?